I had passion towards movies. I loved watching movies. I wanted to get into movies in some form. Not in acting, maybe I'm not that good looking. And generally, I've been good at predicting next upcoming trends, especially in some areas. I had a VPN connection. I was using Netflix before it was launched in India. Every YouTuber, TikToker, Instagrammer, at one point of time want to go into movies. I said anybody can make a movie. Okay, so each movie, games making movie is like a farmer. Anybody can have a land, you can grow anything on it, right? But the only problem is, whom do you sell to?
Where does NFT fit in all this? Why did you choose Web3 as a technology to solve this particular problem?
We don't want to be a typical NFT minting company. Let's give a content and put on OpenSea, and that's not what we're going to push.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Web3Verse by Foundership. I am Bimlesh Gundurao, your host today. I'm very excited to talk about everything around Web3, crypto, metaverse, blockchain in this new podcast series. And today I'm very excited to have Senthil Nayagam, who is the founder of OracleMovies, and very excited to hear about his NFT marketplace journey and what's he bringing to the table with the disruption in the movie NFT marketplace. And very excited to hear his journey, his story, and his worldview of how the future of movies and NFTs are going to take place. So Senthil, welcome to Web3Verse by Foundership.
Thank you, Bimlesh. It was an amazing event to be part of the cohort actually, and this is the first time we're doing a video call actually.
Yeah.
Though I've met Santosh and other people, but no, first time I'm meeting you. Good to be on.
So Senthil, give us a brief intro about your background, what you've been doing all these years, and and then a little bit about OracleMovies, and then we'll take it forward from there.
Okay. I'm Senthil Nayagam. I've been a self-learned guy. I discovered internet way back in '97, and I've been using internet on a daily basis since then. Right? How people use internet now, I used to use that way back in '99 onwards because I ran a browser center. It was easy for me to. But see, when you have an internet and when a lot of people are not using it, so you're an early adopter. I'm generally been an early adopter for a lot of new technologies. And then also I got when you get information, sometimes you create a world model of what things are, how things will happen, and then once you can predict, or you can start taking bets. And generally, I've been good at predicting next upcoming trends, especially in some areas, the open source and internet and other things. So that's how I've been. I built my first software services company or outsourced product development company called Serene Technologies, or Rails Factory is the brand which I built way back in 2006. The company did very well beyond my expectation. I would have loved to have a startup at that point of time. My idea was not funded, and I didn't know what to build for many years. Right, to commit for many years. I had too many ideas, so maybe becoming a services firm was an easier option at that point of time. Without much investment, we got it. The company is still doing very well. Phenomenal. It still has my name in it. I'm still a shareholder there, but I don't manage the operations from 2014. So a couple of us. Clients, and they got huge exits, and that felt like if you are a service firm, you don't own the IP, and if you don't have a proper terms, you can't claim it that you build those products. So those kind of things were there. I thought, okay, maybe I should do my own part. That's what I've been trying from 2014. So that's my tech background. So I built open source Ruby, Python, all languages, server. I've explored a lot of these areas. So Web2, we were phenomenally good at Web2. 2004, 2005 onwards, we built a lot of projects in that space. And 2017, I was trying to do something in crypto itself. We are trying to build a crypto exchange. So we did a lot of this stuff at that point. And at that point, RBI put the spanners in everybody's mind. So I knew how to build an exchange. I understand how coins work, blockchain, and everything. We done some work on Hyperledger because that was the only solution which was made. Enterprise that will succeed. That didn't happen. And so that's how I got into it. And then I realized in 2021 that Web3 is again picking up, and NFT was one area which kind of caught everybody's attention. Within months, we are seeing small startups, right? They're suddenly becoming doing multi-billion turnover in something, and Web3 companies becoming unicorns in 6 months, 9 months, 18 months period. So again, look, it made sense to explore starting up again. So that's what I ended up starting, and that's what OracleMovies is.
So talk to us a little bit about OracleMovies. What is OracleMovies about? What does it do?
Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about pandemic before we got to OracleMovies part. Okay, before pandemic, I have built service firms, hire people, earn in dollars, spend in rupee, and you always have the margin to work on. Those kind of models were easy. Service models were easier on that part. Product what was India was not a customer, and you have to sell to. So a lot of China-based companies are SaaS companies. I know multiple of them. I knew many of the founders when they were starting out as well. Okay, so that's also went very well. But I was looking at what are the other opportunities which we can work on. So I had passion towards movies. I love watching movies. I wanted to get into movies in some form. Not in acting. Maybe I'm not that good looking for Tamil or Southern part. My diction is not that great as well, and a lot of the reasons. Okay, but can I be part in something else? So I thought maybe can screenplay make sense? I can write code, right? Maybe we can iterate and do a Git kind of thing. We did small tools way back in 2007-8 period itself. I built a lot of small tools at that point. I tried connecting with people. I bought my first apartment opposite to AVM Studios. That's one of the biggest studios in Chennai. So if you want to be in that space, you have to. I have tried those kind of things, but that didn't get me that feedback. Then I gave one talk in a space that why Tamil movie was making a lot of remakes in around 2009-10 period. Okay, so we used to have one talk series, and I gave a talk to that part. And what I got a feedback was established directors will not change themselves. And the people who are upcoming, they are willing to listen to you, but you have to fund them for you to take you seriously. Like there was double meaning jokes will come and lyrics were bad. Stories, they don't have any story. We have spent so many crores and there is no story. And not much of change inside. Even now movies are there which doesn't have proper story. Okay, this is one part of it. So 10 years I was interested. I networked in these spaces. I have met a lot of these film celebrities in some way. As a fan, meeting is easier, but if you want to say, I want to get in the industry, they will take you differently. And if you say, okay, you're really crazy, that's what they will approach you. And then 2019-20, right? So whether 20 we hit, we had a pandemic, and pandemic changed everything for everybody. Lockdown, nobody expected that part. Nobody predicted that part. And how things worked, right? Whole employee concept, right? Doing everything remote continuously for months, and doing it a couple of days a week is a different story. Doing every day, stuck in a home, wearing mask and taking a lot of things, and all the bad news was coming out, right? So that was like so I was part of it in some way. I was helping in support groups. I built some work on that space. But it was a very though you can help people and everything, but it's not a great experience, right? You gradually listen to a lot of people who are in suffering or pain or those who have financial troubles. And you listen to them, and it depresses you in some way. That was going in some way. And over the period, I realized what do the lockdown countries for many years, or what are the possibilities, and what will the impact of it. And that one of the things was, if life's priority has changed, right? I lost a couple of people known to me, close to me. They pretty young as well. It's not the older ones which you impact, right? And the whole purpose of life, okay, I have postponing so many things for certain reasons. Maybe we don't have to indulge it now. Maybe we can do a foreign travel later. It's not an urgent. Do certain things. We prioritize work over family and everything. That kind of thing was hitting me. And okay, I had all the resources and I didn't use it because of these reasons. Right? If the lockdown goes off, I should be changing that part. That was one aspect of it. But the risk fear was there. Then the next part, okay, what else is there? Who else is impacted? So what we realized during this part was a couple of things which we thought we taken for granted, right? Those were all taken away from us. Schools, right? They were not a priority service at all. So it's not essential. Food is essential. These are not essential. One part. Temples are not essential. Where people go when they had some emotional thing, the support system that was broken in some way. You live in city and you have a couple of things to come into play. One is you have access to good food, right? Good places to visit, and a lot of movies to watch. So if you live near a mall, you can do all that part. All are closed now. Months together, you are still. But what happened was, earlier after I have tried nearly everything. I got had a me line way back in 2010 because a trial basis when some new laws I learned. I had a VPN connection. I was using Netflix before it was launched in India. I had a US card. I could do a lot of these things and they do it. But now everybody had no other option. So everybody was getting into OT platforms. They were listening to songs on Spotify and everything. And also, so whole thing, schools which are very bad at adopting technology, right? In Indian schools and colleges, if somebody caught was with the phone, right? Parents will be called, right? It will be seized for a whole year. All kind of thing happened. Now, without phones, this will not happen. So a lot of changes happening. So literally what I felt was the adoption was going very, very fast. Things which we thought will take another decade or 2 decades, right? That has become pretty quick. Zoom became one of the most popular tools on nearly everybody's phone because that's what is used for work, right? At that point, I said, okay, what else is changing? So consumer behavior was changing. Earlier, people used to, when they used to make movies, they'll say, okay, no, this movie, people will only watch this movie, not other movie. Now people are watching, since they didn't get any new content on OTT platform, they're watching other content, right? Malayalam content, Telugu, Hindi, all kind of languages. Then dubbed version also started coming in, and people had taste evolved. So I'll give example. Let's say Money Heist. Money Heist was there for nearly 3 or 4 years. I didn't watch it because it's a Spanish series and probably talks about some kind of heist something. I was kind of skeptical at that point. Then he said the English version was available. I didn't want to watch the English one. But then they launched it in Tamil version. It made sense. Okay, let me watch. And I was binge watching everything. And if you notice, all the character names were, though they had a name, but they were given simple names for everyone to remember. Helsinki, Tokyo, that kind of thing, right? So there are so many part of things coming in that point. And later we were exploring Clubhouse, audio system, right? And audio also had a different part. I was trying to reinvent myself in that new world. I was pretty reasonably popular on LinkedIn and on Facebook because of my previous startups and ex-employees. I had hundreds of employees, or I had done a lot of events and everything. I had friends, okay. But on Clubhouse, there was only 2 things you can connect. One is Twitter and one was Instagram. And you're not much active on Twitter anymore because of a lot of spams and bots and everything. You don't spend much time. You do a lot of retweets and likes, but don't post original content less. So Clubhouse is where I became a creator. From start, I started somewhere around last January. 21 January is what thing I started. Within a year, within 6 months, I had about 10,000 followers. And without seeing my face, listening to me, probably they liked. And I was talking to them in Hindi, English, and Tamil, everything. And I said, okay, as a content creator, what challenges they are facing? I could realize that part. I'm saying, if this is the scenario, I want to monetize it in some way, can it scale in some way? But Clubhouse has different plans than what we had. So I bought one of my friends who was in film industry, was a film producer, also ex-RJ, to come and join and let's do something together, right? We did a lot of Clubhouse events together. And we're thinking how we can take it further. And we started talking about NFT and everything. That's how it went in. And we said, okay, though we will like to solve the problem for creator economy problem, right? A lot of people are becoming creators. And instead of getting, there are 3 things, okay. Either you can be a founder, own equity and everything, or you be an employee and you work and get paid once. Even a big worker gets paid once only for it, okay. But as a creator, you should have more revenue. Recurring kind of thing, right? Then we're looking at what technology is supporting it, what problems are they facing. At that point of time, we said, okay, copyright laws comes into play and how we can monetize and can we mint these as NFT? Can photography made into NFT? I think it's easier. So that we were looking a lot of this part. And then we realized what do all these creators aspire for? Every YouTuber, TikToker, Instagrammer at one point of time want to go into movies. I want to show my face somewhere. Okay, my songs, even a lyricist says, okay, my song should come on a movie, right? Because movie is instant gratification. The big screen has a huge attraction. Another part, movies is a lot of money spent to make movies. You want to make a YouTube video or something, you'll spend maybe a couple of lakhs, right? A short film or whatever. Not beyond that. Anyway, there's hardly a recovery. You may, if you have maybe 1 million subscribers on your thing, maybe you can recover some money. But if you are a new upcoming, let's say, a creator, right, you will not make any money at all. And the system is skewed in that sense. So, okay, but in movies, already a lot of money is being spent on making the content part. And what challenge they face, right? And the challenge was even their monetization was difficult. And the biggest screen was in India, we don't have enough screens. 2 years, the movie theaters were locked down. So a lot of movies were pending. All the movies got finished. So nearly every language had 4,500 to 600 movies pending at each language. And if we take about 7 or 8 languages which are popular, okay, so Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam, right? These 5 languages make about 1,000 odd movies, 1,500 movies is what they make. And they generate about 92% revenue for the whole industry, theatrical part. So we had this data, and these movies were unreleased, right? Some had to go directly to OTT. They cannot recover all the money, and how the rights were selling and so on. So I think we have identified a similar problem. Let's see which portion of it which we could solve, and how much money do we have to do it. So then we were iterating and eventually said, okay, so maybe we can build an IP rights marketplace. Currently, assume, okay, there is a movie somebody has made 10 years back, and the movie is available on OTT platform, right? It's not the producer who sold it to the OTT platform. It has changed multiple hands. In IP, there are three things which comes into play. One is patents, where patents, you say, I invented this thing before everybody else, and you register and prove that part. Okay. Similarly, if you're on a trademark, you say, okay, I use this brand and this is how I do it. Nobody should be using my brand, and they will enforce it and they will go to register it. But in copyright, you create a content, yeah, content belongs to you. There is no other way until somebody illegally creates content or copies it, and then you can go to a court or something. Okay. But who is currently made that content? Who's owning it? There is no proof for it. Until it goes to court, there's no way for doing it. Okay. If you want to buy a property, you don't have to ask that person. You can go to a register office or online. You go and pay for an encumbrance certificate and say, who's the current owner of this property? What are the previous owners? Does it have any loan on this property? Any cases going on? Everything is mentioned on the right. But when somebody is buying a content for let's say a Netflix or Prime buying a content, they have to go through scrutinize everything again and again, because there have been instances where same content has been sold to multiple people. Nearly every real estate fraud we have heard of has happened also on IP as well, right? A lot of misuse happens. There is no central database. Can government be a database? Government is not into that part. Censor itself, a lot of people who hate it for that part. Right? So we said, okay, can we start something in this space? And then we are iterating and we kind of figured that out. And then we said, okay, hey, let's, so copyrights, right? Each movie, in India, there are two laws which cover into part. One is Copyright Act. Then there's a Cinematograph Act. They define it not as a movie or film, but cinematograph. And in normal content, right? If you write a poem or draw an art or design or a music, after the writers who creators' death, right? 60 years the copyright is valid. But movie is slightly different in that sense. There are multiple people involved in creating one movie. There'll be artists, musicians, stuntmen, a lot of technical, non-technical people. So they said, okay, hey, they defined a concept called producer. Whoever funds the movie becomes a producer in some way, and that model the structure was built way back in 1913s and 1940s when you had first movie made in India. Okay. But I'm saying that system is nearly 100-year old. It's not needed anymore. And why I'm saying that part, think of it, okay, you want to, let's say, record labels. Earlier, when I was growing up, I used to have bought a lot of Kumar Sanu songs, Kishore Kumar songs, we have bought in cassettes, right? Or Ilaiyaraaja music, we have bought in cassettes, right? When I was growing up, when A.R. Rahman came, CDs became popular. You know, buy a CD player, you can buy, okay. So actually there was revenue being made. And for some movies, the movies made half the revenue on audio label itself. That's what they made money, okay. At that point, producer was physically distributing content, or the audio producer was, okay, or the audio label did all that work for them, arranged shows for them, everything. And that's how the system worked. But now, see, what has happened is earlier the film technology was there, film music was there, right? Now, people are not buying cassettes, people are not buying any CDs. You are listening to the song on YouTube, as a music you're singing, or maybe on Spotify or on FM radio. And all these three, these guys are not sold anything directly to them. No cassette CDs, okay. So they're kind of an intermediary now. If you are a new upcoming artist, you don't need these guys. What if you can give a song directly to Spotify, and if somehow it becomes viral, revenue directly comes to you. You don't have to give 50%, 70% revenue to these middlemen, right? That's how it happened. Okay. Similarly, book publishing. Earlier, book publishers would get some advance money, but that's a future royalties what they're paying. They don't pay the actual money at all. And also, books don't sell that much anymore. Physical books, right? If your book does about 3,000 copies or 4,000 copies, it's supposed to be blockbuster. We don't tell the number, but the so-called bestseller authors are who have sold 6,000 copies. But they get speaking assignment, they make money on other things, not the book itself. Book royalty also doesn't come in some way. So if you're an upcoming author, it makes sense to do a self-publishing. If you're an established author, we already have fans, you can do self-publishing, right? Until unless you are in a particular genre, or an academic or something, you don't need to have a publisher, else you can directly go for it. So similar thing, right? We are seeing this trend happening in music and book, and we said it's going to happen in other game, right? Indie games are there, indie filmmakers are there. Eventually, this model might hit it in some way. Some kind of collaborated current making will happen, and that will change how the system works. Okay, so this is one part. So if I was mentioning that there are every language had 400, 500 movies pending, right? Even if we release 5 movies, it will take 100 weeks, about nearly 2 years, for them to release whatever movie is pending for last 2 years. Already been made. Okay, so this guys, and another part is these guys are borrowing money from market. Film financing, right? Film financing is It's a very, very, very bad shape. Generally, it's worse than usury, right? These guys charge between 3 to 5% interest per month, not annual. This is the difference. Okay.
Yeah.
So 2 years later means your interest rate is more than your actual principal. Yeah. Right. And there is no way you can recover at all. We said, okay, anyway, writing a loss. So what if we can think each movie as a startup, as a model, right? The longer term, what we can do is be an investor. Don't give a loan to it, right? Be an investor. If returns comes in, okay. Similarly, every stakeholder, right? Okay, we call it above the line, right? And below the line is what happens in movies, right? So people who are known, right? Whose name is used to sell the movie. This is the music director. This is the director. This is the actress, a hero who was movie, right? That's what they sell. They actually charge a bomb. Because producers don't pay any royalty to them. They say, okay, with only my face, you want to sell the movie, half the cost goes to these 4-5 people. And the rest of the movie has to make the remaining money. And with the marketing, everything happens with the remaining money, right? So that's how the system works. It's not viable beyond a point. What if there's no theatrical at all, right? Yeah. Directly, OTT channels are paying higher fees for now, but on a longer term, it may not be viable. So what could happen is, again, when creative team make a movie in about 18 months, movie doesn't come out immediately, right? So what if creative people focus on creative and business people focus on business part? Okay. See, so the problem statement I will say is anybody can go and start and make a movie. If Bimlesh wants to make a movie, he can make it. Okay, I can choose a topic and make it. Yeah, okay. Anybody can make it. Okay, you don't have to register anywhere. You don't need permission. You can go shoot. Shooting is a lot easier than ever. You can have a digital camera or rent a camera. A couple of things you can edit on your laptop itself. You have a good GPU, you can do everything else on that part. CGI, everything is done global on computers, right? So earlier, content was made in film. First generation of innovation was they invented a concept of ticket and a theater. So they solved that problem at that point of time. That happened from 1910 to nearly 2010. 2010, what happened was everything became digital. So content shooting was digital, editing was digital, release was digital. Even the transmission of content from their, let's say, Cube or whatever platform, right? They are, when projectors, everything is digital. So they solved that problem for it. And then came the OT platform also. If you see, we saw how Netflix came in from, they were sending DVDs to home. From there, they started doing streaming and they improved. And everybody's offering a service. Even CNN is trying to do a OT now, right? So that's a model which went in. But I mean, they are not solving certain problems which are required. So we said, okay, if you want to differ, adding one more feature or one more two feature, anybody can copy. Okay, so we're going to be spectacularly different from these guys. So we said, okay, how we iterated on that, but say maybe can we leverage Web3? Can we leverage crypto in some way? Okay, so that's how we became what we are now, right?
So at OracleMovies. Talk to me a typical user flow. What happens from a film producer? What happens to me as a consumer? What happens to me as another business person who wants to buy it, right? So give a simple walkthrough of how this works.
So movie investment need to become an alternate investment format, not a typical regular ones, but so let's say, okay, so I said anybody can make a movie. Okay, so each guy who's making movie is like a farmer. Anybody can have a land, you can grow anything on it, right? But the only problem is, whom do you sell to? If you don't know people, there is no standard market for it, then only the buyer will come, or so we invite a buyer to come and see the farm and say, okay, hey, sir, please buy mine. And you have put so much effort and you are asking for a price, and he will say, we can give whatever price, because he has only 2-3 options available. Maybe one option is a big number for OCD. Okay. See, in every language, there is a cartel. Hindi cinema has a cartel, Tamil cinema has a cartel, every cinema. Okay. Somebody's controlling the theaters, somebody's controlling the projectors, somebody's controlling the ticket booking platforms, right? Everybody's controlling some way. Okay. And if you're a first time producer film, you don't know how to approach it properly. Like how to raise a fund part, they don't know. They made something and then they try to sell it in some way. Content may have issues. So they don't have any leverage in this part.
Sure.
Right. So if there are only very few people who can actually buy a thing, right, then you will never get good price for your produce. Okay. So what we are saying is, and on the other part, so this is unorganized. So theatrical is all unorganized. We can't touch theater for now. But I'm saying, if you exclude the theater for now and exclude the extremely large movies because they have huge team to do it, we're talking about small and medium size film. Let's say a movie up to made up to 10 crore rupees, right? So 1.5 million price, right? If we take that and say a producer will release a movie every 18 months, he's not selling all the time. And beside the theater part, he has to go to a channel. He has to go to the OTT platform. He can sell it globally in some way. He can sell to airlines and other people. All of these guys are corporates. And they can't deal with one individual guy at a time who doesn't know how the process works, everything, right? So they will go with aggregators and stuff. Okay. So what we say is, we will build a marketplace, list all the movies here. We'll also buy all the buyers, right? Who can be all corporates, right? Whatever incentives they need, whatever partnership we need, we are taking care of that part. And another thing is, a movie is not one single right. A movie has multiple rights. So let's say, based on what kind of screen are you watching? You're watching an IMAX, you're watching on a 4K theater or a 4K TV, right? Even if you're watching on a TV, are you watching it on a TV channel or watching on an OTT platform, which is showing the content? So that itself will determine what price licensing comes into play. This is one aspect. Second aspect would be, how are you, which location are you watching the movie? Are you watching in India? Indian movie released in India would have a different price and different licensing. But if you're watching the same movie in US, the price may be different and somebody else may own it. Right. The third part would be what we're seeing like pan-Indian movies, right? A couple of Telugu and Kannada movies have kind of broken the barrier. Heroes who were unknown to the market, they are now doing 1,000 crore business, right? Let's talk about Pushpa, right? 50 crore movie made about 250, 300 crores. Okay. RRR about 350 crore movie made about 1,000 crores. Okay. And now KGF2 is doing amazing level. See, I remember in 2003, 2004, 2005 period, right? In Karnataka, producers and directors will go on strike. They will block whole Bangalore. Kannada movies need exclusive status for movie to release. This is a problem in those days. Okay. Now the same problem is happening in Tamil indirectly, right? Tamil movies are not doing good. They have to do better. So some of the story, something is kind of repeatably, something has gone horribly wrong that part. They have to reevaluate and see how give what audience want. Don't be preachy, give them entertainment what they want, right? So that's how things change. Okay. So a movie has multiple rights. So like.
So I as a corporate can come where I'm a content distributor. Right? I may be say I'm a Tata Sky or I'm CNBC. I can come pick up several rights like a bouquet.
First thing part is visibility part. Okay, so what we will say is, okay, hey, if you come on the platform part, see, in these corporate there'll be employees, right? There'll be specialists. Okay, so somebody will be Women's Day is coming, okay, or teenagers are there, so they will have an interest group, and somebody will buy for content for those people. Are they engaging enough? Are we on trying? Okay, new anniversary is coming, vacation is coming. If we release this movie, will it do good for us? Okay, but I'm saying that's one aspect of it. But they also need filler content. See, assume you're running a new OTT platform, right? And how much budget you have? Every week you need to have new content. So at least 52 weeks, even if you say 2 content, you have to sign 100 movies. There are series, everything comes into play, but exclusive series for now, let's say we're going to movies. Okay. So what we are doing is we are partnering with multiple OTT platforms for upcoming, also larger ones. We are going and tying in partnerships. Let's do a MOU. Okay. Some larger ones do not want to deal with intermediaries, so we want to talk to the end producer. That's one approach. We are open for that part. So the other way, some OTT platforms coming up, right? They have a low budget. I need content, but I can't afford more than this part. Okay, let's say you're talking to an airline, right? Airline needs a new movie for 3 months. He doesn't need a movie for 10 years, 50 years, 30 years, right? And he wants a content which is not sexual in nature, not horror, because anything they don't want those kind of content on when they're flying, right? They don't want any controversial content, so they'll choose a content, and they also want ability to edit it or censor it in their part, right? But they will pay only 50,000 to 1 lakh rupees is what their budget would be per movie, but they need 50 movies. Suppose there's a flight between, let's say, Chennai to Dubai, right? So they will say, okay, people from Karnataka might come in, different states will come in for this language, or they will travel to the part. So for Indian movies, they will say, okay, I need 50 movies. 3 in this language, 5 in this language, that kind of thing. So they will decide, or 100 movies. That is what they want. They don't want to go and sign with one small producer. Okay, I think because contracting, legal, everything will not work. So we are the ones who can help them achieve that part. This is one part of it. Another part is a lot of new content which comes into play, right? They don't know how to position it. Can this go to a film festival and then come out well? That's a possibility which we have to talk about. Or if the content is good, think of it. Let's say Pushpa, a movie was made about 50 crores, right? 50 crore movie releasing only in Telugu would have made 50 to 100 crores. That's fine, okay. But if they dub the content, What is the cost of dubbing a content? Probably 5 to 10 lakhs is requires for a normal dubbing. If you do amazingly well, if you bring Andrea to sing in the U Antava in Tamil, right? Okay, the U Solria, and then the Kannada version. So they are bringing better actresses, some extra effects, and then film promotions. It costs them another 5 to 10 crores. So for 60 crores, they have a content which they can sell in 5 states. And this is the magic, right? I'll give you another example. Okay, Jagame Tandira. This is a movie by Dhanush, which came released by Netflix. They released this content in 13 languages. Not only Indian language, this one English, French, German, Portuguese, neutral Spanish. These are comes into South America, actually, Central America, because the common problem which they were solving was addressing was story was about illegal immigration, right, and human trafficking. So once you get that topic there is some interest. If you get dubbed in a global language, this kind of thing works. So what we believe is, if you can, so I don't want to promote Bollywood movie, a Tamil movie, a Telugu movie. That's something which we can do in pan-India movies is going to happen. This is good for us. But I'm saying, if we can get good Indian movies, we can show these movies, dub it in world languages, and make it available in another 40 to 60 different geographical locations on different languages, on different contexts, right? And that will help us build a soft power for India. And that's very important for us. Okay, so we have been watching global content, right? We still don't know, Hollywood, they're talking about Bollywood. Okay, so when you go to US, people think, okay, Indian, what is Indian food? They think, okay, Punjabi, okay, tandoori food is what Indian food is. So different people, like how the elephant part, they have different description based on what they have exposed. I'm saying India has so many cuisines, India has so many languages, but they get sealed up with certain content, right? So that needs some change as well. So I think if we can have a platform like this, it will enable better buying in some way. Also, they said that it helps them discovery, right? If you have a lot of content, I can recommend to, hey, you can try this content, might work better for your audience.
So this is great. So you're solving on one side discovery problem. You're also solving the complexity of acquiring multiple rights depending on the distribution format and consumption format. Now, talk to us a little bit about where does NFT fit in all this? Why did you choose Web3 as a technology to solve this particular problem?
Couple of parts. First part, Web3 makes it, you can store it in a database. The first version was on a database is what we built. But who is currently owning the IP? Who's the rights owner, rights creator, right? The producer name, can we put as NFT? It made sense. All the metadata is there. Okay, hey, this movie, which is uniquely identified with this ID, and this is produced by this person, and he's a producer. Okay. And now this guy is licensing this content for this guy for this period, for this zone location, right? All this metadata as NFT was straightforward for us. Okay, so this content has a 60-year life, and if you make some substantial change to it, which we can help enhance it, but it makes sense. So movies which were made after 1962 have a copyright today, but most producers have sold all their rights. Okay, I'll give one story. There's a movie called Managa Kaval, which came in 1991 in Tamil, produced by AVM Productions. The movie is still available on Prime Video, Amazon Prime, right? It's generating revenue. The movie gets telecast on certain TV channels, and it's still advertises throng to it. That's the story. Captain Vijaykanth acted in the movie, and all went good. Okay, but what has happened is it's making money for copyright owners, but the director died penniless in front of AVM Studios. Okay, he was living in a shanty. Big guy who made a lot of movies, a lot of money at one point of time. They lose all the money in that industry itself. So most time the creators are not getting the credit. Creators are paid more like an employee kind of thing, or maybe a gig worker. You got paid once. So what if there's a royalty kind of thing for them? Every month they had some income. They work on 5-10 movies, and the movies are doing well. What if they had some stake in the content, right, or the royalty part? That will do. The example which I normally give is the second example would be this example would be Titanic. Titanic was a big movie for the first $1 billion movie for Hollywood itself. The movie, they had a lot of scenes. There was one scene where there was a small kid talking to her mother, and this guy will say, he's scared and he speaks just one dialogue, less than 5 seconds of dialogue. And that's it. 97, the movie came, okay. Now it's been 25 years. That kid is still getting a royalty as a check every quarter, every half yearly, he gets it. So each time the movie is shown on a show, or if the movie was made into Titanic 3D was there, Titanic Blu-ray version, Titanic 20th special anniversary edition, whatever the new edition comes into play, new revenue generated, everybody gets it. I'm not about the hero or heroines who made a lot more money, lead actors, they will make you money, okay. I'm talking about a least insignificant guy, and
so
this
the
boy
wealth
is
distribution,
acting it up.
right?
Yeah, no, the royalty part.
Right.
So everything is not, okay, you sold everything. And we would believe if we can manage it in a proper way and we generate, okay, so somebody is tracking that for them, right? So they had a system which helped them. Our system is kind of broken in that sense. Creators are not getting their due is what I mean. So NFT brings a lot of things part. So creating a company for a movie is not practical, especially for small movies, because compliance costs are going up. So I don't know, government may add something over 7 years record, 10-year record, or 60 years, the revenue might be very small. So we think we can do this as an DAO. Each movie rights, ownership and transfer, it could be tokens which we can issue. And those are the other ways, right? So though we'll mint NFT, who is owning the current right, and we'll enable the content part. Okay, hey, you need the content, we can provide the content for. Okay, OTB buys it, he needs to do QC for the content. Quality check he has to do before. Okay, my audio is okay, video is syncing for us. We can take care of all those problems. We'll plug into our system. Mostly they are enterprise guys. We'll enable them all the content, whatever require. And the latest version, if we have assume a future 8K is coming, we can upscale the 4K content to 8K, or increase the audio, or we can dub. Somebody can invest money and we can dub it in multiple languages, right? Like we're talking about Indian movies are not done well, or we're not even tried marketing in certain countries. We could have done better in Indonesia, we could have done better in Turkey, in Brazil, or Argentina, some stories, right? We could have done better in those cases. So what if we can invest and dub in these languages? And an OT platform has more reasons. Okay, hey, already this current kind of does well in this demographic, can they explore? So we can do those kind of experiments if you have a platform like that enabling it.
So far, what's been the market response? How far are you in the product journey?
We are okay. So first thing, what you see, this idea was new for India, too new for some people. It's like a what do you call? There are already. I told you that's kind of cartels, nothing. Right? Somebody disrupting their model, nobody will like it. That's how I understand that part. But it makes sense because of pandemic and post-pandemic and adoption technology. We see a value for it. So we said, okay, let's do a small land grab as soon as possible. Let's go and get as many movies as possible. That's what we're doing. We're talking to hundreds of producers. We acquired hundreds of movies as of now. Hope we will cross thousands soon. That's what we're working on. We will have an official launch where we actually sell on a live television. We want to showcase how this works and what challenges. We are doing some work on that space, and that is what is pending. Another part is we want to do a fundraise. That's also happening in parallel. So we're talking to a lot of people in this space. I gave a talk at CIA Dakshin. They had a special event for media and entertainment, right? So the movies is what we're promoting initially. We are also doing something on books, on games, and music. We're doing some work on that as well. So I'll be opening up on that when we are ready for that part. But movies is what we're primarily looking. We have signed multiple languages. It's not okay. I'm not even saying Tamil. So my co-founder, DK, is a film producer. He has played a couple of movies. That's one part. Our CEO, he's based out of Hyderabad. He's also an exhibitor. He's directed, produced a movie in Marathi, right? His father has produced multiple movies in Telugu in 90s and 80s, right? We are sending movies in Malayalam. In Marathi, we are signing a large deal. So we are acquiring as much content as possible. The bigger our content base is, say market is GMV.
Discoverability is going to be key. For
a lot of content. The more content you have, more reason for people to come to you. Correct. That's what. So basically, initially, what will happen is long tail is what will initially happen. But then we can, once you have non-exclusive rights, we can do bundling, and a lot of other things can come with it. We're trying to partner with tech companies in this space who want to film promotions, digital content, dubbing studios. We're working on a lot of these people as well. And also tech companies who are offering OT as a service. They can do all the backend part. We'll bundle it and say, hey, you want to launch a OT platform, come to us. We'll give you the technology, we'll give you the content, and you can drive it from there. Otherwise, we'll take it.
So how far are you in the product journey? When did you start the product development aspect of it? So talk to us a little bit about that journey.
So in Web3, the difference between Web2 and Web3 is in Web3, all the code is open source. Right. Okay, but we, for certain reasons, we don't want to make everything open source because team with a deeper pocket might can overtake us in certain parts. So we want to at least build a lead before we go up that part. Okay. We postponed our launch. It was supposed to happen a week back. Is what was supposed to happen. We just postponed certain reasons because that will give us a better visibility is what we are working towards. So a lot of things are happening at our end in this space.
Sure.
Somewhere around July is what our tech work started happening. We had code. I have a lot of ex-employees. Yeah, a lot of people are actually helping us. About 25, 30 people are helping us at different levels. Okay. And once some funding hits, we'll be making bigger announcements on what are things we are doing. Okay. Platform-wise, we have at least we want to build a B2B one platform, a B2C. Okay. So we are not done much on the fans part. So we believe okay, B2B is whatever we do currently is movie part. The guys who are going to buy IP is going to cost crores of rupees. And this is not some random image which is being posted by some person and the value will go up or go down. That's not the case. Okay. This inherent has a value. Movie is made for several crores and has 60 rights protected by the law itself, right? So those are at least I have a base that the current will go up. That we knew that.
It's an underlying asset. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other part is for fans part. So we're doing some work for fans. We were part of a team which helped market the Amitabh Bachchan NFT, the first NFT drop out of India at scale, right? So we knew how the market will react, how it works. So we have seen that part, and we were part of a couple of more launches as well. We have been doing now, promoting certain things in this space. And another thing is the next big thing for us would be Metaverse. So we are also doing some work on Metaverse. Platform can launch, but content is required. So any new platform, right? Without content, the platform is of not much use. So the user content or paid content, whatever. So we think, okay, we have enough content to get started on that part. So we are doing some work on that space as well.
So with
what we got is yeah. So we are part of a couple of cohorts. We have we'll make an announcement soon on some funding. That's what we are waiting for that to make. Okay, so that's something is happening. Also, we are part of Polygon Leap thing which came in Nokia. So because of attending the foundership is where I talked to Arjun Kalsi and he introduced me to that team and that's how the thing happened. Okay. But we think this industry is big enough. Okay. Already $3 to $5 billion is what very movies alone. If you take other parts of it, about 10 but I think 2 to 3x inefficiency can be improved. If we can do that part, it can triple in size. And probably we can take a big part in that part of it is what we believe.
So talk to me a little bit about choice of technology chain here. Right? What are some of the factors that you and your team considered, whether to build on Polygon, build on some other protocols?
Yeah, so because of the Amitabh Bachchan launch parts of the B2C part, we decided on Polygon. That's easier for us. We am okay with for B2B also. I'm okay with Polygon as well. Okay, I would love to. I have a belief, right? India has a huge population. Okay, a country like Philippines with a small population with one game, they actually became an econ. Okay, for India's size, if we can bring 1 billion people, like the way people already have UPI ID. And if we can give a wallet to every person. So I will have a vision for that part. So I have this idea called infinite wallets, right? Everybody, so there is no limitation how many wallets people can have. Government has issues. The government is saying 30% tax, 1% withholding kind of thing. And it seems like we could even launch a GST on the platform. So that will take a lot more, right? We would love if every Indian gets a wallet, right? And which they could manage. And India can itself be a whole industry for itself. That's how it okay. But it need not be everything on cryptocurrency. It could be assets, it could be mark sheets, it could be movie tickets, or anything else which can go into it where it's valuable, right? And what I believe is younger people are better suited. They understand these game dynamics sessions, everything. They're better than what adults do. We have preconceived notion. We'll always compare, convert in dollars, right, or in rupee, and each time we compare that, but the price is going up, going down. You don't look at the value part. People who are into the industry, they don't compare. Kids, they want points, they want to score, they have a PFP. It's pretty normal. They're playing games. I do all these things. Right? And that's how that system goes. Sure.
And currently, where is your entire team based out of? Are you a co-located team? Your team is completely distributed around the world. How are you operating?
So when we started out, it's why we had lockdown multiple times. We didn't have a proper space at all. Only in November we took a small space. We have many people who are helping us because we don't want to be a Chennai-based startup. That's the image which we don't want to even go for it. Though we have a physical office in a place where the so-called film district is there for us. Okay, In Saligramam, we have a small office for film producers to come and meet us because they would be comfortable meeting us there. Okay, we're doing a lot of meetings in 5-star hotels, but then a small producer will be intimidated by that kind of environment. I don't want to go for that part. For tech, we will be taking a larger office soon, but what we're planning is setting up a small operation in each city which we operate, where a lot of movies are being made or consumption happens or market happens. So Chennai, Hyderabad, Bangalore, probably Kochi, and Mumbai definitely, because all the sales happen in Mumbai only. All the OTT platforms, all the finance companies, big producers, all are operating out of Mumbai only. So we have to travel often there or set up an office, makes sense. So we'll be having a small office there. But for Web3 part, India is still not a right place. Is how the government is not treating us well. Is what I believe. The way the system, this is a $1 trillion opportunity is what I believe, and probably the way government is doing it, it's going to put taxes on everything, right? I can't do a DAO, I can't do this. This is maybe it would make sense to operate the whole crypto part out of India, right? Get a separate company and then own that part. So I'm exploring Dubai as a model, or maybe BVI or some other place, right? That's how. Again, that idea was again because of talking to people in the foundership part, right? So Chingari, they were talking about it, and people from Netherlands, right? Copyrights, Netherlands is a better place for owning the IP. So we had a lot of advice from there and evaluating. So once we have the initial round, probably we'll do more traveling and globe hopping, doing a lot of film festivals, attending all the film festivals, and popularize Indian content. That's what we are hoping for.
Fantastic. Coming towards the end of this conversation, talk to us a little about the entire fundraising journey, right? You're seeing, so I'm sure you must have spoken to different type of investors, crypto investors and non-crypto investors. And you fundraising, I think also, if I'm right, also for the first time, because your services company.
Yes, in previous companies, I have never done any fundraise. I've not done a fundraise.
So talk to us a little bit about how you're shifting your mindset when you're talking to Web2 investors and Web3 investors. What is the difference in thinking, perspectives, valuations, all those aspects?
Right. Even my co-founder, right? So borrowing crores is easier. We have the credibility, easy part. From film industry, can we borrow money? It's very easy to do that part. But if you want to disrupt the industry, where do you want to borrow from them?
Yeah.
And if you're bringing in investors, what kind of investor we need? What problem will they solve? Okay. Can I use their name? Will they help us promote ourselves? So we have to evaluate that part of thing as well. Okay. Should we take a lot of money for one guy and really dictate me how things should be done? Right. So we want somebody who can be ambassadors for us, who can help us support, can be advisors. So we are choosing that kind of people is what we are doing work on. Okay. We are not promoting much on crypto yet. Right. We'll do tokens and DAO, everything. It scares people. Okay. People who are above 40, they are pretty risk averse. Younger people, okay, I will do all in crypto. There are people who we hear it. Okay. So we are not taking crypto yet. So we're saying, okay, let's do at least some of the expenses which we are doing. Okay, if you want to have an office, we want to have the expenses, salaries, these are being paid in rupee, right? So we need money in rupee. We need some money in dollars for servers and other things, and credit cards and content and everything that we're doing. For me, for travel, also cards might make more. So we are looking at some in those aspects only for now. But once we cross the initial angel seed round and everything, right? At that point of time. And when we can set up operations in a foreign country, which can be crypto native or support, right? Because I don't want to go into any legal gray areas, right? So we have big problem to solve, and prematurely going into that part, and then focus more on the crypto, and valuation is what we'll focus on, not the actual part. So there are hundreds of problems in the industry. It's not one or two industries. There are a lot of problems there. Hey, can we solve it in this area to begin with? Can we bring in crowdfunding of the content part? So we can come into those areas after we solve this one very well. Yeah. Because if you're unable to sell the content, what's the point of making it? So you can make amazing software. If you don't have a sales team which can't sell it, your product will be outdated pretty soon, right? So you have to figure that part of it. So we are solving that problem first, and then we'll get into these parts. The DAO part, we will love to do a DAO factory in some way, where every movie can be standardized in a particular way. We can, everybody has a multi-sig wallet or some format which we can do for them, or each creator gets something on that part. And how super fans, right? People who have a huge fans. Say, assume, okay, you love a particular song, okay? I love a particular Elijah song, okay? Can I buy the rights to it, or at least partial rights to a fractionalized ownership of the right, and pass on to my daughter? see, first thing, it's a bragging ownership is a different part, but we're talking about actual copyright itself.
Yeah.
Right. And that changes how it can generate revenue for you. $100 billion worth of revenue is being generated on music itself, on licensing content, right? So if you open up, I'm not expecting, okay, a retail investor will come and, okay, invest in this thing, but at least fans can do it. You are this hero's fan, you are Lata Mangeshkar fan or SP Balabhadra fan. I want to have this one song or one voice or whatever. Those are kind of things which would come into play. So we think that's a unique option for people to do it. But we don't want to be a typical NFT minting company. Let's give a content and put on OpenSea, and that's not what we want to do. We want to do it differently on that aspect. Do it more smarter at that level part. Right.
Coming towards the last question, Senthil, you have been able to successfully navigate the transition from Web 2 to Web 3, right? Both as a technologist and now as an entrepreneur, you're almost that part of the journey. If you were to use this platform to help newer founders, right, who will either natively look at Web3 first or founders to look at transitioning from Web 2 to Web 3, what has been some of your learnings that you want to share of your last 12, 24 months journey into the space?
Sure. I'll give you an example. Let's see. In US, there was Amazon, and India, we a team which tried building Flipkart. In US, we had saw Uber, and somebody was trying to clone it in some way, and that became Ola. But these are two different companies. How Ola works and how Uber works are very different in that part. Okay. Similarly, we have seen Airbnb, we had Oyo, right? We had different formats, but India has its own challenges. Okay. So taking this NFT is doing well. Let's say NBA top shot is doing well. Let's look on cricket. This is one approach towards it. People have done that part. But they will hit some button. We have to have an India-specific, India-centric, India version if you want to get a lot of Indians to come on that platform. And that's very important for it. Okay. Another thing is, though, when we start with the movie part, what do you call? We are pretty unique in that aspect, right? And we went to a lot of competitors even a couple of months back, right? They said, okay, who are your competitors? I said, okay, we are not, these are people who are competitors, but they're not doing an NFT. If they're not doing NFT, maybe something is wrong with your idea. We'll get back to you. We'll get back to you. That answer was getting it. And after a couple of months of waiting, we have a couple of people who are copying our idea and again, or coming the exactly same idea from a different part and different geography. So we have 3 or 4 people who are trying to do similar space, but we are a lot more ambitious than them. That's the only difference which you can see. Another part is there is a constant learning required. You can't stop. Okay, my idea is perfect. Let me finish and let's launch it. You can't do that part. Every day you have to open your ears and ask your fans to talk to you and say, hey, the competitors coming in this one, doing this part. Can you innovate in some way? So those are very important for us. In Web 2, right, you can rip anybody's code in some way. Here's a lot of crypto exchanges, smart contract, everything is publicly available code. Okay. Those are easier to available, but how do we innovate? But another problem is you can't launch a code immediately. Right? You do amazing thing, the whole team, everything gets built, everything gets okay. You wrote your own code and do it. What if it get hacked? So we're seeing a lot of large projects, right? Axie Infinity, I think their blockchain was hacked. Okay, so they had about 12 validators. Yeah. And they could get hand of it in some way, right? Something. So I don't even call it a hack, right? So the way you wrote the core, you can do every other application part which is private, can be managed differently, but whatever is public, right? And the code has high value content, right? If it has billions of dollars, right? Then how it is managed, how it's done has to be different. That's a new learning which I normally did not do. But we are mentally preparing ourselves. Okay, so going for that model. When we launch our tokens, we have to make sure it's secure, and we should know, okay, who are our early investors should be able to get returns proportionate to what our industry has seen and do better on that part. So VC investments can help us reach some part of it, but token is where it can take the whole, transform the whole industry. We need to have our own tokens, have our own DAOs and own swap and everything. The whole ecosystem is required for us. So we need to validate some part of it. We have a version which looks good for us, but until like having an idea, it's like movie, right? You may think a movie is great, you release it, and you don't have much control over that. So when you don't have a control, so you have to manage that part or get feedback from industry people or on the security part, on how the implementing part. So we would like to talk to Chingari guys and probably Polytrade, right? So Arul, I think I'll try to ping him again and see Saurabh Arul can help me validate my idea. Not on the business idea. Business idea, I can solve that part. Industry, I'm getting good feedback on that part. But in the tokens part, or maybe take iterations from there, or any new line coming to play. So that's how I'm seeing it, right? So I may have all the experience, 20 years of experience managing hundreds of employees. Those are all I've done. But as far as any other Web3 is concerned, I'm as new as any other founder here is, right? So this is a totally total shift. It's a whole generation shift is happening. Yes, there'll be early adopters and there'll be early leaders in that space. So, but yeah, so meet people, connect people, right? Open about it. A lot of people are going through the same challenges. People will help. Currently, that's why I feel people are industries very helpful in that sense. So we are trying our best to get the best of our knowledge and also sharing wherever possible.
Yes. This is great, Senthil. Thank you so much for sharing time today and having this wonderful conversation about your journey and what's your worldview and taking, really the Indian movie landscape, into a much bigger horizon and really, creating a vision to share our culture and our worldview to the entire world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.